this time, we thought he was in trouble.
He's keeping a woman? I am rearranging my life for him so he can fool around with some flatbush floozy?
With the Floyd.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ayo.
Ayo. Oh, wait.
Oh, nice. The Who's the Boss podcast. I'm Tori.
And I'm Kevin. I thought I'd add something.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We are here to rewatch and discuss every episode of Who's the Boss leading up to the reboot, if we can do it in time. We're trying. We're racing. Tonight, we are going to talk about Season 1, Episode 10. It is a very special.
It is.
Who's the Boss?
And back in the 80s when they used to say tonight on a very special. Except on this episode they didn't, or...
Well...
Maybe
they may have advertised it as that, but...
that's true. The promos, yeah.
So the title of this episode is called Requiem. And I looked up that title because I feel like that's been used in other shows and, movies, and then musical pieces are Requiem. So it's basically a mass for the dead or a musical composition for the dead, which fits this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
So it first aired on December 18th, 1984. And the TV Guide summary is, Angela discovers that Tony is moonlighting to finance his father's apartment, but his father's been dead for a year. So this summary kind of gives away the whole first part of the episode where Mona and Angela are trying to figure out what's going on with Tony.
Yeah, and you just said it out loud.
Right. There it is. Right in the TV Guide. So, as we open up this episode, it's Christmas. And this house is decorated.
Yes.
Every little nook and cranny has some sort of red ribbon or snowman or a card or a stocking.
Which I don't think you could expect any less.
No, not from Tony Micelli.
And a fancy, neighborhood in Connecticut.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So Mona's doing another school project.
Right. She's writing a short story.
Right. So this time she's writing a short story. But unlike the photography from the other episode, this is going to actually kind of play into the storyline.
Yes, it does.
And she's just sitting at her typewriter, which made me think, imagine still having to write on a typewriter. And imagine what we're going through right now with a lot of children doing schoolwork from home. Like if there had been this pandemic in 1984, there would have been no way that you could do school from home.
No.
On the phone. There's no Zoom.
No.
You're writing on a typewriter.
It would just been, school would have been on hold, I guess.
Gap year. I wish we had gap years right now.
Yeah.
So she's writing her story. Angela's trying to help her along, but instead she just makes fun of Angela and the fact that she's probably not a real blonde, which everybody knows Angela's not a real blonde.
Right.
Come on.
Oh, I know. She totally comes at her.
Right.
It's funny.
Tony gets home, and he's been rushing all over. He got the errands done. He bought a wreath. He got dinner, but we know something's up because Tony has Chinese takeout. He's not making dinner.
Right.
And he forgot to pick up the kids.
Oh, yeah, and there's that, too.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I've almost done before, but...
I have done that. Do you... Okay, just a quick side note, but there was one time where you told me you hadn't picked up the kids, and so you told me to go to daycare and pick... This is years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You told me to go get them, and I was driving home from work, and it wasn't my normal routine, and I just drove home. And I drove home with no children, and you didn't have children.
But for the record, I did tell... I was clear.
No, you told me. Okay. I just completely forgot. So then I had to immediately get back in the car and drive over to daycare, and I luckily made it in time.
I kind of remember that, but I don't.
Yes, so
I have so many things I remember, but I don't, and try to forget.
So yes, I have done it one time. Just came home, no kids.
I knew one of us did it. I just didn't know who. I was hoping it was you.
But like Mona says, it's easy to forget the kids.
They're small.
They're small. Yeah, that was a great line.
Yeah, it was. I have that down here.
We find out that Tony's been out almost every night this week. And it's gotten so bad that Angela had to plan her eggnog party around his schedule.
Yes, the eggnog party.
What the hell is an eggnog party?
Did you look it up?
I did look it up, and I could find nothing about eggnog parties, but my best guess is that you have all of your friends bring their own eggnog recipe, and then you try them.
Or you just serve a crazy good eggnog.
Yeah, or that.
Maybe she liked Angela's eggnog, like it was the best, and every year was a tradition.
Yes.
That all our friends came over and drank it.
I'm going to bring this tradition, or I'm going to start this tradition, or I'm going to bring it back.
I believe you would with eggnog.
I love eggnog, and once we can actually be around people again, I will...
We're going to have eggnog parties.
Yes, we will have an eggnog party. That will be, if we ever have people over around the holidays, it will be called an eggnog party.
And it'll be epic.
I think I'm the only one in our circle of friends, though, that actually likes eggnog.
Yeah, we'll see.
So Tony finds the kids because a neighbor gave them a ride home. I guess saw them wherever they were and just brought them home. And Tony can't stay for dinner. He has to go somewhere. Angela's annoyed that he's going out again.
But he has Chinese food, like you said.
Right. Yeah, he brought them home dinner. He's just not going to stay because he has to go out. But he's supposed to watch the kids. But Mona's going to cover for him.
Always. Yeah. Mona always covers.
She does.
Always.
But you know what? Good. It's a good thing she does because he does a lot for her. He makes her lunches. He's probably doing her laundry. And she doesn't live there. Now, if you notice, when Mona says that she'll cover for him, he goes over and he kisses Mona. And then he kisses Samantha. But he does not kiss Jonathan. And I just thought, like, was that kind of like a macho 80s thing where, like, you don't kiss, like, you don't kiss
not
your
his son.
Not to say his, right, it's not technically his son.
It, but I'm just saying it's not his son.
Right. But I guess...
But he definitely doesn't kiss Angela.
Well, right, so then he turns around.
No, I'm not kissing you.
I don't kiss you.
Whatever. Right. But yeah, I didn't even notice that he didn't kiss Jonathan. That's funny you noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he hasn't been there that long, so maybe... But he doesn't even, like, pat him on the shoulder or anything. He just, like, bypasses Jonathan altogether. But I thought maybe that was, like, you know, kind of a macho thing where, you know, you can kiss a girl on the cheek, but you're not going to kiss or hug on your son figure. So when Tony gets home that night, Mona's still working on her story, and... He makes an Agatha Christie reference.
Yeah, I have that in my notes too.
Which adults will get still, but children wouldn't. No. I looked her up, and I did not realize that she died in 1976. She died before I was born. So...
It must have been months before you were born.
Yeah, it was like January or something. But she's known as like one of the most published authors ever, and she was famous for her mystery stories, which is why he makes that reference.
Right.
Mona's working on her story, and of course, she's the heroine in the story. So, go ahead.
Yes, no.
The sexy redhead grandmother. Yeah. And as she's describing it, she's like, you know, setting up this plot, and then she notices that Tony has what looks like blood on his shirt. And she says the housekeeper did it. But then she touches it and realizes that it's pizza sauce.
Right, and then of course licks it.
I know, licks her finger.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was kind of gross.
Yeah, and that's pizza sauce. So she's unfolding the mystery.
And as he walks away, she finds a Pizza Playland hat in his pocket. And I thought that was a nice callback to the episode Sports Buddies.
Where she takes the kids to Pizza
Playland.
Pizza Playland. Yeah, they kept that alive.
Yeah, so that was good. Nice. She figures out that he's working there, and he explains that he just needs to make a little extra money with the holidays and stuff. So right then, Angela comes home, because she had needed to go Christmas shopping, I guess, for her employees, so that's why Mona watched the kids. She comes home, and Tony's like, Staller, I gotta go clean the kitchen still.
Yes.
So Mona watched the kids, but she did not volunteer to clean the kitchen. That was still Tony's job. So Mona immediately accuses Angela of not paying Tony enough to buy Christmas presents for Samantha.
Because he's working a side job.
Right, yeah, like he has to do this because he can't even afford gifts for his little girl. And Angela's like, no way, I just gave him a really nice Christmas bonus. Which I wonder what the Christmas bonus was.
I don't know.
I wonder what was considered a nice Christmas bonus in 1984. Angela decides that she's just going to go ask him and find out what's going on. And Mona is annoyed because she's like, you would never be a very good investigator. And I don't know if you noticed this part, but Angela, so as Angela's talking, she takes off her jacket, which is enormous, by the way, and then hands it to Mona. And then Mona gets annoyed with her, walks out the front door. Before she leaves, she just chucks the jacket on that bench that's by the front door.
Oh, no, I didn't even notice that.
I know, but it's like, I don't know what made me notice it. I noticed it when she threw it, and then I went back and watched it again. It's like, why did she hand it to her in the first place? And then she just throws it. It's pretty cute. And I wonder if it was maybe just like an improv that the actors did in the moment, and then they kept it because it was funny.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Before Angela gets into the kitchen, Tony's on the phone telling someone that he's got the money.
It'll be there on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
and
the
I
mystery
noticed,
continues.
Yes. Unless you read the TV Guide summary.
Oh, yes. Or heard what you said at the beginning of the episode.
Or listen to the
TV
sound
Guide
clip that we
summary.
played. But I mean, if you're listening to this, I would imagine you've seen Who's the Boss before. Unless for some reason you just like searched Boss and you think this is a management podcast and you're very disappointed right now.
Yeah, you're really confused at this point.
And I noticed that apparently dinner included 2 martinis because on the table when Angela goes in there, there's 2 martini glasses. Maybe the kids had some martinis with their Chinese food. I'm not sure.
I guess. Maybe they
Angela
had
and
orange
Mona.
juice.
She needed to loosen up before she went shopping. So Angela confronts him, and he just admits that he's working 2 jobs. And she's like, well, you've been doing a couple things around here, like putting red towels in with Jonathan's white shorts.
Right, which I love the quote he says, where he says, nowadays it's cool for guys to wear pink.
Yes.
Which is like another like progressive 80s comment.
Right.
Which I know there's been a few like that aren't so PC, but then that one's like, oh, it's cool for guys to wear pink. So.
And I feel like it did kind of become, like the pink polo with the flipped up collar became pretty popular in the 80s.
Yes.
Oh.
That sound went away.
It was the air conditioning.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, sorry. So Angela asks, like, are you in trouble? Are you gambling? And Tony's like, it's private, and I need some space.
Yeah, it's like, you need to leave this one alone.
But yeah,
but
she's
of course
not.
she doesn't.
No. And I love how in a roundabout way she asks basically if the mafia is after him. Which,
yeah.
I don't know, is that kind of like a racist thing to say to an Italian person?
I don't know. I actually
The stereotype.
don't. I have no
that
idea.
Italian
Stereotype
people,
more than racist.
Right, yes. I meant that in a light way. The next day, Tony's in a great mood because he's paid off all of his December bills. Just one of them needs to be hand-delivered because it can't wait that long. So he's going to pay that one in person. And, of course, he sets it
down.
Yeah, sets it down on a table in the middle of the living room.
Yes.
Where Angela and Mona can just not help themselves.
Yes,
they have to look at
Angela's there, who cannot leave it alone, as
No.
she was asked.
Right. And immediately Mona assumes that... So the envelope says, G.F. Lipari. And immediately Mona assumes that it's Godfather Lipari.
Yes.
Another callback to it being a mafia person.
Mm-hmm.
Mona follows Tony to Brooklyn.
Yes.
And we get this
cheesy reenactment, or not
wonderful
reenactment,
like B-roll or whatever it is of her following him, sneaking, hiding behind the corners.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. She sees Tony going into a woman's apartment, and on the door it says G.F. Lipari.
Of course.
So she immediately assumes that this means Tony's keeping a woman. I looked up what keeping a woman means. It's an old term for keeping a mistress and basically paying her rent and paying her living expenses, so then you can just go over and have sex with her.
But a mistress from who?
I don't know. Yeah, because I guess it would be more for someone who's married.
Does a mistress mean you're keeping somebody, but you're married?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the word mistress more infers that the person is married. But yeah, it's just like he's hiding this
Either
woman.
way, okay.
Yeah. Like it's not, I don't know why she wouldn't assume that Tony just has a girlfriend, except for the fact that he's paying her rent.
And
or it
was trying to
appears.
keep it
Under
wraps.
quiet.
Yeah.
Angela was fine with him possibly having a gambling problem or having the mafia after him. But to find out that she's been rearranging her schedule because he has a mistress.
Pump the brakes.
Right. Now we're pissed. And she calls her...
Funny.
So she calls her a flatbush floozy To which Mona responds, "A floy floy." I had no idea what this meant, but I figured it had to mean something, so I looked it up. And it's a good one. So there is a song called Flat Foot Floozy. Do you have it? Do you want to play a little tiny bit of it? Here you go.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so that song is by Sam Gaillard, and originally it was called Flatfoot Floozy, but they didn't like. It says Slim Gaillard.
Oh
is
shoot!
It Slim or Sam?
It is Slim. I'm sorry, I wrote Sam.
Yeah,
Slim Gaillard. Thank you for catching that. No, thank you. Now the song was originally called Flatfoot Floozy. When they went to release it, they didn't want the term floozy, which means a prostitute. Now we would call that person a sex worker. No judgment. So
Yes.
they wanted to call this song Flatfoot Floogie.
I see.
Which is what you'll look it up. When you looked it up, that's what it was. Now, I mean, it's still clear that he's saying floozy in the song. And what the hell is a floogie? Like, that sounds even worse. But now here's the
I relate that to loogie.
Right, like,
It's
yeah.
so weird.
Now here's the even better part. So, a floy is a reference to venereal disease. So the song is...
God, you really went deep
I did.
in your notes
I was like,
today.
it has to mean something. Like, why would she just say a floy? So yeah, so the song is basically the prostitute with venereal disease. In 2020, we would know that as the sex worker.
Yes.
With venereal disease.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's a good one for, like, that's a really... Now, I'm assuming that and this song came out in 1938. But I'm assuming that adults, when we were kids, would have still known of that song. And so parents would have gotten that reference, but children would obviously not have.
Yeah, I guess so, yes.
And today, no one would get that reference, unless you listen to this podcast.
Yes, no. The more you know. Oh my gosh.
So Mona thinks that this whole thing is super romantic for some reason, but Angela's having none of it. So he comes out from the kitchen and she lays into him about the fact that she's been rearranging her schedule so that he could have this woman on the side. And he's kind of annoyed that they followed him or that Mona did at all.
Is this the point where he calls them Scotland Yard?
No, he calls them Cagney and Lacey.
Oh, it's Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah, Mona.
Oh, then we missed the Scotland Yard.
I'm sorry.
That was earlier.
Mona does make a reference to Angela not lasting a minute in Scotland Yard when the way she was going to interrogate Tony was just to ask him.
Yeah.
But yeah, here he calls her Cagney and Lacey.
Cagney and Lacey. The Cagney and Lacey reference was pretty awesome.
Yes. Adults will still get that today. Children will have no idea. They were going to reboot Cagney and Lacey, and I think it just died in the water.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, obviously. So Tony explains, I'm not keeping a woman. I'm paying rent on my father's apartment.
Yes.
In Brooklyn still. So he leaves.
Yes.
And Angela's like annoyed or mad at Mona because she just made her make a fool of herself in front of Tony, saying that he has this woman on the side. But Mona doubles down. So now she's like, well, let's invite
Well, at that point, she says to Angela that she's way off, even though it was her doing, it was all her planning.
Yes.
Tony leaves the room. She's like, "Oh my God, Angela, you're way off."
Yes, it's very Mona.
Right. I know. It's like throw her right under the bus.
Right. So they decide that they should invite Grandpa Micelli to Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
But if Grandpa Micelli was still alive, don't you think Tony would have already asked to have
that's
him
in
over
my
for
notes.
Christmas?
Well, my notes, exactly what I wrote down here. I said you'd think that Angela would know by now that Tony's dad is not dead.
Right.
I mean, is dead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you would think that she would know that he's dead.
Because I'm still trying to figure out how much time
I think that Tony started working there around when the show premiered. So it's supposed to be that he's been there from September and it's now December.
Okay, but do you think there would be a conversation
Yes, absolutely.
about parents and
Yeah.
siblings and whatever else?
Yeah.
You think she would know that
Yes.
Tony's dad is dead? But
And, like,
but
Tony-
once it
yeah.
goes deeper in the episode, maybe you realize why
Right.
she didn't know.
Yeah. And if he wasn't dead, like, I doubt Tony would have just let his dad sit all alone in Brooklyn while he had Christmas with Samantha in Connecticut.
Yes.
He would have either gone to Brooklyn or he would have invited him.
Right. True.
Anyway, we need this
or
for
maybe
the plot,
I'm
so-
going into Brooklyn to visit my dad at some point. But he never said that, so why would... I don't know.
I know. We need it for the plot, so
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
let it
do a
slide.
side podcast for this.
Right. When Sam gets home, they ask her... Oh, no, Sam's already there. She's doing something with Jonathan. She comes in.
Right.
They ask her, like, wouldn't it be great to have
Yeah,
your
she has to
grandpa...
sit down and
Yeah.
have your...
grandpa come for Christmas? And she's like, yeah, that would be great, except he's dead. He's been dead
Right.
for a year.
And then once again, she walks off and Angela says... Or I'm sorry, Mona
Oh,
says to
yeah.
Angela, "You're way..." Once again, Angela, you're way off.
Right.
Like, poor Angela's
I know.
not just batting 1,000
Right,
here.
yeah.
It's just so funny.
She just keeps getting
She
thrown
keeps
under
getting
the
her
bus.
called. Yeah, she keeps calling her out. It's just funny.
And I love that Jonathan's, like, kind of sibling, we just found out that her grandfather has been dead, and all he's interested in are the presents on the table.
I know.
He's just, like, picking up the presents and looking at them.
That's all right.
It's
Like a
very
kid.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
So Angela goes and tells Tony that she asked Sam about Grandpa coming for Christmas, and that, she said that he's dead. And
Yes.
yeah. I love that Angela's helping Tony dry the dishes here. I think it's very cute. Because
that's
I
an
guess-
observation you noticed, not me.
Yeah. I guess she just figures, like, if she's going to be in the kitchen, she should be doing something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something you would do for a family member more than, like, the person you pay to do your dishes.
Yes.
But I think it shows that, like, she kind of respects that he works hard.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Yeah,
I
and
like
if she's
it.
there, she's going to help out. She's not going to just sit and, like,
Stand
watch
there and
him.
let him do everything.
Right. And there's a cute moment where they're discussing, so he basically says, I'm holding on to the apartment because in case things don't work out here, apartments aren't easy to get in the city, and then this way Samantha and I have somewhere to go.
Yes.
And there's that cute part where they're kind of discussing how things are going so far and things are going well. They're both enjoying this situation.
Yes.
Okay, now here is a set design thing that I noticed that I will post a picture on Instagram because it's so ridiculous. While they're having this conversation, if you look in the background, above the refrigerator cabinet, so there's the refrigerator, then the cabinets above the refrigerator. On the wall above that is a coat rack. Why?
So there's a coat rack
Yes, like,
above the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Above the cabinet.
yes.
So maybe like in case Andre the Giant's coming to visit. I mean, he was a popular figure in the 80s.
Right. And it needs to
doesn't-
hang. I know. So here's my thought. My thought is that they needed, you were a set dresser for a short amount of
Yes,
time.
for a brief period of time
Right.
I was, which really, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It's still not, it doesn't help you figure this mystery out at all.
I mean, like, in the art of set dressing or working in set dressing, a lot of times it's fill spaces. Like, you don't want empty wall space and whatever.
Right.
And that seems like, well, put that up there to fill the space,
Right.
but it makes no sense.
Well, my thought is that maybe since televisions were smaller, the definition wasn't as good, they figured no one's going to be able to tell this is a coat rack. They're just going to be able to see that there's like some gold sort of thing up here filling the space. Yeah, I thought that was pretty fantastic.
It doesn't make any sense, but all right.
And then there's also like every shape. So then I started really looking around the kitchen, and there's like every shape cake pan that you could ever want. Like, and I feel like the limited number of times we see Tony make a cake, it's always just a square. So he really needs to take some of these cake pans down and use them.
Yeah, really step up his cake game.
Yeah, and I guess that might have been a thing, like when you have all these different cake pans, instead of just putting them in a drawer, you put them on the walls, and then when you need them, you just take one down, use it, wash it, and put it back up on the wall. Oh, the 80s.
I know.
So anyway,
We could just hang cake pans
that was
all over the
a
walls.
tangent, but I couldn't let that go because I noticed it and it was ridiculous. Back to the main part of the story.
Yeah.
Angela and Tony are talking about the fact that, she understands that it's hard to go back and clean someone's apartment or space out once they pass away.
Yes.
And we hear about her father for the first time. We know that Angela's father passed. At this point, I don't think we really know how old she was, but she says that her and mother went and cleaned out his office, and that it was difficult.
And he had a nice view of the city from his office.
And Tony...
So that means he was an established
he was
businessman.
Some sort of businessman. And Tony's dad also had a nice view of the city.
From a garbage truck.
Right, because he was a garbage man. Today, we would call them a sanitation worker.
Yes.
Now, Tony Danza's father was also a sanitation worker, and he died in 1983, and this episode is a tribute to him.
Yes, which I was going to bring up the end in my notes, but you went ahead and just said it now. So
they show the picture of him and his dad in the next shot. They don't say that it's his dad yet, but yes.
Right.
So he's there cleaning out the apartment. Angela gives him the day off to go clean out the apartment.
Right. So could you use the day off? And then they cut to the apartment, and he's like looking at the picture, I think, at that point, and cleaning, quote unquote, cleaning up the apartment.
Yeah. Pretty much just sitting there, not really sure what to do yet.
Yes.
Because, as we realize, it's more about the fact that Tony doesn't want to let his dad's memory go.
Which is why he's only on the apartment.
Right. Unless about the fact that he needs to hold on to an apartment in case he and Samantha need to move back to Brooklyn. So there's a very loud knock at the door. It sounds like Angela threw herself into the door. And she's come by to help him. She must have left work, went to Brooklyn to help him clean up.
Because of how much she's messed up this entire episode in intruding on Tony's life. Right. And then asking Samantha if her dead grandfather should come for Christmas. So, she feels like she needs to do something.
Right. The least she can do is help him clean this place up.
And, get some kind of closure.
Right. And she messes that up when she picks up a box and then knocks over...
what she thinks are Grandpa Micelli's ashes.
And the dustbuster runs in the family because Grandpa Micelli also had a dustbuster close by.
And he immediately starts vacuuming it up.
Right. And she thinks he's vacuuming up his father. Now, let me just say, that would have been a very small person for him to be able to fit.
It's very little ashes.
But it's just from the fireplace.
But, side note, it's like a vase, right? When you think it's a vase or a vase.
It's like a copper sort of metal vase, but yes.
But then he's like, Angela, it's from the fireplace. Well...
Right.
Were you keeping a vase in the fireplace?
Yeah. Normally you'd have like a pail that you would put the ashes in.
Yeah, it was a tiny... Yeah. I didn't understand that part.
We just needed the joke.
Or was it on the fireplace and it had all this dust?
Right, and maybe he had moved.
You're right, we did need the joke. I get it, but I didn't it doesn't mean I accept it. I'm not accepting it. I don't understand it.
Yes.
It's full of ashes for some reason. A vase or a vase.
My mouse is not working. Okay.
Uh-oh.
This is where your notes on paper are really coming in handy.
Yeah, that's right. I have notes on paper. They'll never, somebody won't delete them.
They reminisce, I'm done with you. They reminisce about his dad, and he talks about how proud he was of being a baseball player.
Yeah.
Even though he was never like a fantastic baseball player, he was still very proud. And I think Tony Danza does such a good job in this episode.
I think so too.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is like actors can cry, but when it's that trying not to cry, it's so good.
And considering his father passed away a year before that.
And we know, I know because I read his book and I watched a little bit of his television show Teach, that Tony Danza is a crier. Is a very emotional person and can cry pretty easily. So
Yes, I remember you telling me that.
yeah, so most likely he was getting choked up and trying to hold back. But I love that there's a much later episode in this series where Judith Light does the same thing, and it's so good. Like, I think that's the best kind of on-screen cry. And it really showed that he has more of a range than we would think of him.
At that point, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And Judith Light has always said that when she came to this show, she didn't know if she could do comedy because she had been a dramatic actress. And Tony Danza says, you know, that she could definitely do comedy. And as soon as she got the hang of it, she kind of credits him for teaching her. And she has said that Tony Danza didn't realize that he could do drama because he was way more well known for comedy, but
Yeah, with Taxi and everything.
yeah, she said after they shot this episode, she knew that he had a much larger range than people give him credit for.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Angela notices that there's a Christmas tree up, and Tony explains she thinks that he was going to spend Christmas there, and Tony explains that the tree is there because his dad died suddenly right before Christmas. So not only is the tree up, but he hasn't even opened the Christmas present
Right.
that his father was planning to give him. And that present is a pocket watch.
Yes. Which is a very heavy scene.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
For Who's the Boss?
Yeah. I don't think our kids watch this one on our rerun, and I think they would like it because I've tried to focus on ones that deal more with the kids.
Yeah.
But I think now
they
that they've
would
gotten
appreciate
into it more, I think they would appreciate this one. They would have no idea what a pocket watch is, though, however. I feel like that's kind of a thing in the past right now.
Yeah. I have. I think I
Yeah,
still
you
have
have
a
one.
pocket watch somewhere.
So they, you know, talk about being able to pack things up and you've held your father's memory in here. Let's bring him home and then he can be with his family.
But the side note, or side observation, he just worked his rear end off to pay the rent in this place. And then he went there and just packed everything up and left. Yeah. I mean, it's like he had to work at the pizza what was it?
Pizza Playland.
Pizza Playland
Right.
at night and hide it to keep the apartment. But then, it had to have been the span of a couple of days.
Yeah.
I'm going to pack it all up and I'm
Right.
taking everything out of here.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what he needed to.
Right.
I thought that was kind of funny.
That's true. He should have just still used the apartment to go get away from everyone for a
That's what
weekend
I
or
would've
something.
done.
Hang out in Brooklyn for the
Yeah,
weekend.
I gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, hang out in the apartment and listen to your records.
Now, once they decide to clean this place out, they move fast.
They do.
The next thing we know, the walls are bare.
And Angel's carrying records out of the back.
An enormous box
Some
of
back
records.
area
Yes.
by the kitchen.
So this scene's cute. They mentioned it's all big band stuff.
Yes.
They mentioned Tommy Dorsey,
Yes.
Glenn Miller, Les Brown, and his band of Unrenown.
Yes.
And
All
Tony doesn't
well-known
want to
big
let
band.
go of the records.
That's all well-known big band stuff.
Yeah. Tony doesn't want to let go of the records, but he figures that there's no place for them at Angela's house. But Angela loves that music, so they decided to take it home, take the box of records home so they can play them.
And they realize they have another thing in common,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
they didn't know.
True.
Which,
Yeah.
builds on that.
Yeah, this whole episode
storyline.
is very much them bonding as friends,
Yes.
I think. And showing that, because they can play, there's really no sexual tension in this episode. So
Except where he says he can't kiss her.
Oh, yeah, that's...
No, if you want to call that sexual tension.
But
It's I can't kiss you.
It just shows that, they're building a friendship in addition to the sexual tension.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice. Now, a side note about this set is that it will come back as Mrs. Rosini's apartment.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
How
it's
did
kind
you
of
know
used
that?
as the Brooklyn apartment. Oh, there's a great website. It's not active anymore, but if you go to the Wayback Machine on online, you can type in, it's WTBR.com. It's the Who's the Boss resource. And they have a list of different things about goofs and stuff. I don't think they had the coat rack, though. If it was still up, they would probably really want that information.
Yeah. I want to know more about the coat rack over the fridge and
But yeah, so
cabinet.
they just have some information about like sets that are reused and bloopers and stuff. So yeah, check that out on the
Yeah.
Wayback Machine. They go home. Oh, and it's a nice moment where she kind of gives him a minute.
Yeah, she says, I'm going to go sit down in the van
Yeah.
and wait for you to leave.
Well, it's a good thing that this worked out because I guess otherwise she was going to have to take the train home because she apparently didn't have any other way home. Yeah, she goes down, sits in the van with the suitcase. He didn't really take much from the apartment.
But he ends up saying, in a nutshell, he says, I got everything I wanted, and tomorrow
Right,
the
Salvation
Army's coming to pick everything else up.
Right, the furniture.
So I guess they're going to leave the front door unlocked or something. I don't know. I don't know how the Salvation Army's going to come
Well,
pick
maybe the
everything up.
landlord would let them in, or the super
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something.
we'll never know.
No, it's a big mystery, like the coat rack. So the next morning is Christmas morning.
What? Hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So this part, so he leaves, and then he's looking in the room, and then they slowly fade in the mood by Glenn Miller.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, so that's playing. It's like whatever the In the Mood is by Glenn Miller. It's playing, and then Tony looks around the living room for a minute, and then he shuts the door, and then they do like a pan. Maybe they panned away while he was shutting the door, but it gives you a glimpse of what Tony remembers as a child.
Right.
As he's leaving the apartment.
Right.
So like he takes that last minute, and then he hears. I don't think they just played that music to just play it. I think it was like him remembering hearing that music, looking at the apartment for the last time as he shut the door. I thought that was quite the touching moment.
Very touching.
So anyway, now you can, and it just gives a look into the past of what Tony's life was like in that
sounds of
apartment.
home.
And, yeah, exactly.
The next morning is Christmas morning. They've opened all their presents, and we see that back area of the living room that we don't
normally see.
I don't know what you would call that. Maybe a den.
Yeah.
A study, and that's where the Christmas tree is this year, and they're all kind of sitting around it and talking. And Angela decides to put on the old records. She starts doing the Lindy.
Yes.
Which is an old dance. I looked up on YouTube a little bit of how to do the Lindy to see if she was really doing it. I don't think she was, but when Tony steps in and they start dancing together,
That's
it does
when it gets
look
real.
like, yeah. So he was right. He does know how to do the Lindy better than she does. And the kids are embarrassed, just like they were hoping. They don't want the music on.
Yes.
But they get into it. And then that's it. It's a nice family Christmas morning.
I know, but that part where they're both doing the Lindy or whatever, and then Tony throws Angela around, it's amazing.
I know.
I love that part.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
very good.
He throws her one way, and then her look on her face when she comes back up. Like, you knew she had to have known.
Yeah, I
know.
wondered.
Part of me was like, did she know that was coming?
Right. Did he
like,
just
did he
toss
throw her around
right.
knowing the dance? And because she really genuinely looked shocked at the end, or was that her acting? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that part was funny.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So.
And there's like a random table in the middle of the living room that she almost hits as he swings her around.
Yeah,
I don't even know why that
maybe that's
table is there. But yeah.
Anyway, so yeah.
That's the end. It's the Micelli Bauer first Christmas.
Yeah.
Of many. All right, so what do we want to do first? Rating or who's the boss?
Let's do rating first.
Okay.
Let's do rating.
My rating for this is an 8.5.
Okay. 8.5, that's high.
It is high. I really like this episode.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go that high too. I mean, just like at least an 8.
Oh, nice.
I'll go 8 because not only did this episode have the wackiness and funniness of a typical Who's the Boss episode, but it had the feels.
Mm-hmm.
It had the feels, and maybe a tear or two came out of my eye, and I'm not kidding. Like, it was good. Like Tony Danza scenes with trying to let go of like his father's apartment and all
and
that
knowing
stuff.
that it was
stuff
based
touching.
really on his father.
Yes, that was because at the end, and a side note, at the end of the episode they say this was dedicated to his actual father. In memory to his actual father.
Maddie Danza, because Tony Danza's original last name is Danza.
Danza. Oh, okay. I was wondering why the last name was different. I didn't even notice that. So.
Yeah, I guess at some point he just dropped the I and
So I'll go with an 8.
Okay.
I'll do an 8.
That's good.
Because it was good. It was a good episode. It showed a different dynamic than the first 9. Is it 9 episodes that we saw?
Yeah, this is episode 10.
Yeah, so it had like a different feel to it than just comedy. And so it was good.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you!
Who do you think the boss is in this episode?
Well, as mixed up and confused as she was, I think it was Angela. Even though she didn't know what was going on half the time and was wrong, from the get-go,
Right.
like trying to figure out what Tony was up to
Right.
at night. Tony's acting weird. He's
Right.
not here every night. I think it's Angela.
I agree. That's
Okay.
who I picked. Yeah, because she's the one that kind of, first she's like, you made my son's shorts pink, so what's going on?
Right, yes.
And she just comes out and asks him. And then she's the one that really encourages him to go and clean up his father's apartment. And
Yes.
she helps him.
Because Mona was useless this
Yeah.
entire episode.
Mona
All
just-
she did is make fun of Angela.
And
tell her
hide
she's
around
wrong.
corners in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true. She wasn't that useless. She did.
But she got it wrong.
I know.
She thought he was
way off.
having
But then
an
blamed
affair.
Angela.
Right, exactly.
Poor Angela.
That's it. We've hit the end. So next time, we're going to cover season 1, episode 11, which is Samantha's Growing Up.
Oh, boy.
This is a fan favorite and a favorite in our house. Our daughters love this
Oh, yeah,
episode.
stay with our children because
Yes.
I have no idea what it is.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, maybe once I watch it, but
Yeah, it's when
if you're just saying that-
Sam needs her first training bra.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. Send us a direct message about anything we missed or anything you would like us to discuss. If you have any information about that coat rack too, that'd be great. Or you can go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast. There you can leave us a voice message that we can play on the air, on the podcast. Okay, so
right.
we're breaking with tradition. We do not have a Who's the Boss song for the end of this podcast. Instead, what do we have?
We have the Flatfoot Flugie
Nice.
by Slim Gaylord.
Yes.
Right? Did I say it
Gaylord,
correctly?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, we have that.
With a Floy.
Oh, that's right. Yes, with a flip.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends and give you a big pat on the back.
Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Floyd, 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 Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Floyd, Floyd, Floyd. When you're feeling low down, you don't know what to do. And you want to show down. Here's the dance to do. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Flatfoot Flugie with Floyd, Floyd. Floyd, Floyd, Floyd. Bang, 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 flutie would fly,